Okay, and welcome to session 11.5 of our Rose of Westhaven campaign. Unfortunately, Dennis isn't with us today because he's not very well. Get well soon, Dennis. So we're going to be without Sasha during this session. Now, obviously, we're going to press on with our two heroes, William and Odhran, who are sort of taking a little sort of side adjunct from the main events that they've been pursuing. When last we left them, they had decided that they were going to try and smoke out the rats in the tunnels underneath Porthcrawl, and they had called on the aid of the captain of the Porthcrawl Guard, Captain McCormack, to get some of his boys together, get some supplies together, and come and help them. Unfortunately, whilst they were doing that, it was revealed that a number of them had been affected by this strange sickness or disease induced by the spores on the odd green mushrooms that were growing on the rats. Now, Salazar managed to... I'd said that he could probably make a cure for it, but he'd need to have some time to study, get his ingredients together, do some testing, etc. He also said he needed the heroes to get, I suppose, a sample of the original unadulterated fungus, which the player characters were able to provide for him. Now, whilst this was all going on, Odhran, quite sort of miraculously, was able to actually, just with local ingredients and herbs that he found here and there, and a bit of his knowledge of the old ways, was able to actually brew a tincture which allowed the symptoms to be sort of lessened. It didn't cure them, but it stopped the palpitations, the sweating, and the worst of the fever. Now, as a few days have passed, Sasha has got worse and worse, the sickness seeming to affect her far more than the others. Now, this could be because of her slight frame or her young age. It may be down to the fact that William's unique circumstances give him a certain resistance, and we know that Odhran is a big strapping fellow who has I think it's fair to say, has a certain resistance to ingesting like fungus. So those two have, although they're sort of starting to feel the first sort of wobblings of these symptoms reoccurring as the tincture that Odhran prepared is slowly running out and so working its way out of their bodies. They've gone to Salazar, and he's about to detail his thoughts, what he thinks he needs to effect the cure. So before we launch into that, I'm going to ask each of our players to introduce themselves and just say a bit about their character and where they are with that character in general at the moment. So we'll start off with the strapping fungus meister himself, Odhran Mola.
The Fungo Meister. So yeah, I'm Johannes P. From Finland. I'm playing Odhran Molag. He is a savage sort of fellow, fairly uncivilized, from the Olden Vale, the last refuge of the old ways on this continent, I guess, or island. Odhran is a jolly guy and not that smart, and he worships Dagon, the Great Old One, with quite the fervor, and he enjoys long walks on the beach and psychedelic mushrooms, preferably at the same time.
Okay, thank you very much. And next we go on to Johannes E. playing William.
Hello, I'm Johannes E. from Germany, and I'm playing William of Riverhead, a very special boy with a cursed armor who doesn't really like long walks on the beach, but he likes to drown people. And he currently has discovered a couple of things and may have changed his plans maybe slightly. But first we have to do something else. So let's see what will happen in the next couple of sessions.
Okay, thank you very much. So we begin in Porthcrawl. As we left off last time, you guys have returned to the Harper family residence, where Salazar is working on the cure for the spore sickness that has afflicted you all. Since Sasha had been coming down with far more severe symptoms, she's currently been sort of laid out in a room adjoining Salazar's own so that he can keep a professional eye on her. Over the course of the last couple of days, he's been talking to Odhran about what he's been doing, trying to explain some of it in sort of layman's terms, to slowly sort of like lead you into the ways of the sage and the herbalist Odhran. As you walk in to see him on this particular day, the two of you, you can see that he has set up what appears to be an ingenious array of lenses, all held on this ornate brass armature that appear. You see him moving various lenses in and out. Underneath it, he appears to be peering at one of the samples of the fungus that you bought him. You can see that he's obviously not slept for quite some time. He has bags under his eyes. His skin looks sallow. His eyes look red. In fact, he's rubbing them as the two of you walk in. You can see him shaking his head a little, and he sighs under his breath. And when he turns around to see the two of you walking into his chambers, William and Odhran, you can see there's a look of, I suppose, disappointment and frustration on his face. He sees the two of you and he says, "Oh, I'm afraid there's been no change with young Miss Sasha, my friends. I've barely slept for the last 2 days, and I have made a few interesting discoveries about what we're dealing with, but sadly I fear I'm no nearer to a cure. Please," and he gestures at the array of lenses on the table and says, "If you just apply your eye to the lenses there, I'll show you what I mean." And he gestures to the tabletop with the array of lenses on it.
Yeah, I'll go take a look.
Okay, you peer through it, and as you look down through this series of finely ground lenses, you can see it appears to be magnifying the spore sample below. And as you look at it, you can see that to your greatly enhanced vision through this array of lenses, there are small flecks of what appear to be bright green dotted throughout the sample. And as you compare them, you can see they almost look like small flecks of bright green sand.
Right, and this is in the mushroom.
Indeed, it's in the sample that you took to Salazar.
Yeah. I look up from the apparatus and to Salazar. I go, I'm familiar with green caps, but this is much more green than green caps.
Indeed. I fear that I believe these small flecks are a mineral known as gloomium. It's a glowing green rock found only deep underground in the depths of the Midgloom. All I can hypothesize at the moment is that this fungus must have drawn nourishment from a polluted underground water source, and gloomium itself is said to give off poisonous emanations. So perhaps these emanations have somehow changed the fungus. So maybe that's what gives it its resistance. I've tried almost every cure I can think of out of my knowledge, and none of them have had any effect. Some of them have worked for a small amount of time, and I believe I bought Miss Sasha a few days, maybe a week at the most. But this damned fungus, it just has it has an unnatural resistance to any of the remedies I'm using. Every time I think I've beaten it back, it returns with twice the vigor.
Would that I could crush it with my hands. And I shake my fist at him, and then at... is Sasha here or somewhere else?
Sasha is here. She's in like an adjoining room, but it's like a little sort of room. But the door is open. You suspect that Salazar, given the fact he said he's not asleep, has actually like given her his bed. And as you look through the open door, you can see her lying there. She looks pale. Her eyes are closed. There's sweat on her forehead. There's a blanket drawn up around her. You can see that Dani, Salazar's daughter, is sort of like sitting on the side of the bed. She has a bowl of cold water. She's occasionally dabbing a cloth into the water and dabbing it on Sasha's fevered brow.
Couldn't you just make whatever Odhran made a bit more potent?
I've tried, and it works for a short while, but it's not a permanent cure. I'm sure the two of you have felt at least a few of the lesser side effects occurring, and that's with whatever resistance the two of you must possess against this fungus. I must admit, I'm bewildered with exactly how the two of you are resisting it, whereas Sasha appears to be affected by the full force of the infection.
Maybe because she's a woman?
Perhaps.
No. It is Dagon's favor that shields me, and good William here has given at least.
I've got some favor too.
As I say,
there's only one possible treatment, and even that's a gamble, a fool's errand at best. But it's the only potential treatment I can think of that I haven't tried that may work. And well, I haven't tried it because I don't have the necessary. Well, I don't have one of the ingredients necessary to perform the treatment.
What is it?
There's a rare mushroom, a fungus. It's referred to mostly in myths and legends. It's called the Golden Mycena. It's an extremely rare mushroom, said to be one of the most potent healing forces in the land. I know from some of the oldest legends that I've looked at that back in the old days it was even believed that it could return the very dead back to life. Of course, such blasphemous rumours led to the Church of Westhaven, when they burnt all the monasteries, etc., also destroying almost all of the Golden Mycena that existed. However, I have heard there is a man in Porthcrawl who supposedly has some direct knowledge of the mushroom in question. A man called Hayes. People around here call him the captain. He's some sort of ex-soldier or something. I did try and talk to him about this a couple of years ago, but he said that he wasn't interested in talking about his soldiering days and that he'd come here to get away from it all. And he slammed the door in my face. And well, I've not attempted to speak to him about it since. But I fear without the Golden Mycena, there's not all I can do for Sasha other than buy her some extra time. And well, as you can see, she's not exactly in a fit state to enjoy that.
Do you have something that we can identify this mushroom? Maybe a picture or a description?
We will. Hayes, was it?
Hayes, that's correct. Yes.
We will find this Hayes fellow, and he will give us the description.
Well, the only description I have of it, says Salazar, is that it supposedly has small, almost thorn-like growths on its stem, and it has a yellowish, a bright yellowish coloration, which gives it the name Golden Mycena. But as I say, I've only got fragmentary references. I mean, the Church of Westhaven supposedly destroyed them all ages ago. I'm afraid that's all the help I can give you. And obviously, if you can retrieve this for me, we might have a chance. But my travelling days are long behind me. I fear I'm best served by remaining here with Donnie and trying to keep Sasha going until hopefully you can return with the Mycena.
Yeah, let's talk to this guy.
Yes, I think the innkeep would probably be aware of this delinquent.
Probably. He should know almost everyone in this village.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so are you guys travelling to the Siren's Whisper?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, no problems. Okay, so the two of you travel to the Siren's Whisper. As you arrive there, you can see that Brock is actually outside. He's just sort of taking some barrels in. You know, he's obviously taken a delivery recently. As you're watching, you see sort of like rumbling back down the road away from Porthcrawl, the cart and the mule belonging to the old lighthouse keeper. No doubt he's perhaps dropped off some goods for the innkeeper, and now he's making his way back to the lighthouse.
Yeah, I'm gonna go and help Brock with whatever is on his delivery.
Okay.
So just go there and pick up a couple of barrels.
Absolutely fine.
And friend Brock.
Brock looks up as you approach him. So you say you sort of grab a barrel and start helping him, and he's like, "Oh, cheers."
Don't mention it. Or actually, you could mention a fellow goes by the name Hayes. That ring a bell?
He says, "Oh yeah, the captain. You mean?" He says, "Yeah, he was out here a couple of days ago. He was having a barney with old Birdwell, you know, shouting at each other in the town centre. Them two are always arguing."
Do you know where he stays? I know that where Birdwell stays, but the other one.
Yeah, no problems. And he sort of like looks around, puts the last barrel in, and then he says, "Right, if you come out of here, turn to your right, head down the road, take a right by Town Hall, then keep following the road down, and eventually you'll get to the captain's house. Big house, you can't miss it at the end of the road."
Right.
Don't know if he'll see you though. He's ever so grumpy. So what was that you were saying? Anything else?
On the shore, then.
Yeah, just on the shore. Yeah.
Does he come here often?
No, not a great deal. Comes in occasionally, you know, but sits by himself. Doesn't really speak to anyone. Has a couple of drinks. Occasionally, you know, if he has a bit too much, you can get out of him that. Well, he comes down here on. I think it's on like the anniversary of like some of his men being killed when they were in the war and that, and he has like a drink to their memory. But we don't see him much of the time. I've seen him occasionally down Smelly Alley, you know, just like anyone buying supplies. Everyone's got to eat, isn't it?
What does he really like to drink?
Well, I know he's fond of a good port. We don't get a lot of it around here, to be perfectly honest. Apart from when old Thackeray brings some stuff down from the lighthouse, that is.
He just came by, didn't he? Could we get a hold of a bottle or two?
He says, "Well, yeah, I can sell you a bottle of it, but it's not cheap, I tell you. Good stuff."
Could be helpful.
He says, "Right, well, and he seems to like rummage around under the bar, and he brings out an old sort of small bottle of port, and he says, "Well, not normally I'd charge 5 silver pieces for that, but you know, since you fellas did me a good turn with that wine and that a while back, so I'll let you have it for 4. How's that?"
Sounds excellent. And I grab him 5, and I give him 5.
He takes it off you. Cheers, and then his eyes narrow and he goes, "You ain't seen that elf friend of yours about recently, have you?"
No, we have bigger problems.
No, hasn't turned up at his house, so I presume he's gone back to the Olden Vale.
Wow, good riddance, that's what I said. He spits on the ground next to him. Last thing we need is more of them around here, occulting people and putting charms and that and unnaturalness on people.
Well, thanks for the information.
You're alright, no problems. Anyway, I mustn't stand around here gassing all day. I've got work to do. And he goes back to sort of unloading his stuff.
So William, as we walk away from the tavern, so William, as we approach this man, apparently he likes a drink, so So we offer him the drink, right? And if he doesn't want to talk about this mushroom, because it was, if I understood the sage correctly, it was when he was a fighting man that he learned about this mushroom, and he doesn't like to talk about those days. What do we do if he doesn't want to talk about that?
You break his kneecaps? You could try to drown him. This usually works. I'm not that good with people. I'm sorry.
Maybe it is best if I handle this talking business.
Should I stay nearby or should I be with you?
Oh, please come along.
Okay.
But maybe don't mention the drowning and the smashing of bones.
Yeah, I notice. I usually don't talk about the stuff when normal people are nearby.
I usually save it for the, what do they call it here in the land of the one God? The congregation. I usually save it for them as well.
Yeah.
But he doesn't follow the Lord of Waters, so let's not do that.
I usually don't. Don't worry.
Yeah,
I'm just
and we
pragmatic.
probably get some weird looks from like people that we pass by.
Indeed, you will notice that there's a few people sort of giving you odd looks as you're sort of gesturing emphatically and saying, "Perhaps don't mention the drowning stuff, will you?" And William's like, "Yeah, I've been told not to mention it around people." Yeah, there's a few sort of like other like local peasantry and like the town folk who are sort of walking past you, like crossing the road to like avoid you, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we head for the captain's house unless William had something else to do before that.
No. I mean, I could try to spy on him, but this could take a long time and we don't have time, so let's just go for it.
Okay,
Righto.
So if you guys want to move yourself onto the map to the captain's house.
Sure.
Okay, so you walk through the town. As you get to the captain's house, you can see it appears to have once been sort of like two smaller buildings that were next to each other, and they've been sort of like knocked together into one large building. It looks as though it's in a slight state of disrepair, but it's better off than some of the buildings around here. You can see there's a small garden out the side and the back of it, where perhaps this Captain Hayes grows some of his own food. Other than that, it's fairly unremarkable. It has wooden beams, whitewashed walls. It looks nice and clean. He obviously takes a bit of pride in his house, but being on the coast and with the elements sort of coming in as they are, it's suffered a little bit, particularly sort of on the side that's facing towards the sea. As you approach it, you can see no signs of there being sort of anyone at home at the moment. You can't hear any noises or anything like that. Now, I'm going to ask you guys, what time of day would you have sort of gone on this? I mean, obviously it's up to you guys.
I think probably like afternoon or like early evening. Like we did some stuff before we came to the Sage, presumably.
That's absolutely
Looked for rats or whatever.
Yeah.
Checking out.
Okay, so it's early evening, so sort of dusk, if you will. The light has started to fade a little, but you can still see sort of unimpeded to your normal distance. So as you walk to the house, you don't see any signs of candles in the windows, any lights flickering inside. You don't hear any signs of people talking inside or anything like that.
Well, I'm gonna go and knock on the door, right?
Okay.
Sure.
Absolutely fine.
Yep.
You walk up, you knock on the door, you wait for a couple of moments. There's no answer from inside, no shout or anything, no sign of anyone having heard the door.
William, do you want to go Do you want to go look out back?
Sure.
I'll wait here, and then I just pound on the door again.
Okay.
Sure.
While you're pounding on the door, William, you go and have a look around the back. There's nothing particularly noteworthy around there. There's what appears to be an old horse tethered up. It's munching on some grass. There's more plants, so like a small garden around the back of the building, but it's fairly unremarkable.
Is there a back entrance?
You can see there is indeed a back door.
I will look at that and try to hear on the door and see if I can hear someone inside, maybe.
Okay, you listen at the door. After a few moments, you don't hear any sign of anyone inside.
Are there any windows?
Yep, there are a couple of windows at sort of like eye level.
I would look in them too.
Okay, you peer inside. Through the first one you look through, you appear to be looking into some sort of pantry where food is kept, etc. You don't see anything particularly untoward in there. It's just a small room with like a larder with a few shelves in there where various foodstuffs have been put on. You look through the second and you're looking into what appears to be the main sort of living room. There's a battered old armchair in here. There's a couple of books. You can see sort of hung up on the wall there are a few bits of armour, a couple of weapons, all of which look to be quite old, but they're quite well kept. However, you don't see any sign of like an actual person in there.
Okay, I come back around and shrug. Seems like no one's home. There's a horse in the back, but that's it.
Right. There's little use breaking into the house because we need the man.
Exactly. Maybe we should just ask around, or maybe he's asleep. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's actually when we were talking with Brom, Brock. What was the innkeep's name? I'm blanking out.
Brock, yeah.
Well, we were talking with Brock. I think my good friend, the Captain Birdwell, that runs the shipping hereabouts. I was talking with him, and I think he mentioned something about having, I don't know, like words with this captain guy.
As you're saying that, you hear an indignant voice from behind you, and sort of looking around, you see a grizzled-looking man with a long moustache that runs into his sideburns. You can see he's walking up the road towards the building, carrying a small wooden crate under his arm, and as he hears you say the name Birdwell, he goes, "Oh, that rapscallion Birdwell sent you up here, has he?"
No, I was just mentioning that Birdwell.
Yeah, a likely he cuts you off. Yeah, a likely looking story. Why, he thinks he can send some of the thugs off his boats to come and rough me up? Well, you won't find this old soldier quite so easy to deal with.
Do I look like a thug?
He sort of like peers around, seeming to like see you for the first time. Obviously, he'd looked for the sort of biggest threat, which in terms of like musculature is Odhran. So he spots you for the first time, and that seems to set him back a bit. And then he says, "Well, if Birdwell didn't send you, what the bloody hell are you doing here?"
Well, we brought you port.
Now, call me a suspicious old soldier, if you will, but it's been my experience that people don't just normally show up on your doorstep waving expensive-looking bottles of port around. Come on, out with it. What's your game?
We are in need of your expertise.
Oh, wow. I'm very flattered, but as I've told people, my soldiering days are long behind me. That was another life. I've left that all behind.
You could save a couple of lives.
As you say that, he lowers his hand and he says, "Well, I suppose you best come in then. And he walks past the two of you, sort of opens the door, heads inside, gestures for you to follow him.
I shrug. Maybe I'm better than I thought. And walk behind him.
You see him sit down in the battered old armchair, and he gestures at like a couple of wooden stools. And he's like, well, park yourself down there and tell me what's brought you to my door.
Yep, I close the door behind me. Looking around, as if I haven't seen it yet, which I did.
There is a threat to the town. There is a rat infestation, which is not harmful on its own, obviously. He says, as if that were true. But in turn, the rats are infested with a particular type of mushroom that, while properly handled, can be used as medicine. When people are exposed to it in its raw form, they are infected with the spores, and people expire.
He raises an eyebrow and he's like, well, this is all very, very fascinating, but what precisely does it have to do with me? I'm no alchemist or apothecary.
We are trying to find a cure, or at least some remedy to this spore infection with the sage, Salazar. And he mentioned that you would know about this. What was it, William?
Golden Shimmer? Oh man. I should have taken a note of it.
It's fine, I'll tell you, it's the Golden Mycena.
Golden Mycena.
What he said.
He narrows his eyes a little bit when you say that, and he's like, what the bloody hell did you want to go bringing that up for? He says, look, I told the sage when he came and spoke to me, I don't even know how long ago it was now, a year or two ago, when he came to speak to me about it then, look, I'm not interested in reliving it. It was a very difficult part of my life. I'm not interested in reliving it.
My sister is infected with this stuff, and she will die in a couple of days if you don't tell us. And I don't really want to see her die. So with all respect, I have, but your feelings are not as important as her life.
He sighs and says, okay, right. Well, I suppose if someone's life is on the line, if you ask anyone around town, they'll probably tell you that I was once a captain in the Royal Army, but when Cromwell and his lot took up arms against the crown, well, I resigned my commission rather than fight against my own people. Fighting wars abroad is all well and good, but I didn't sign on to the army to fight against our own people. Well, whilst that is true, it's not the end of it. On my last campaign up to the north of here, I sustained a severe injury. Pistol shot right to the heart, just here, and he taps his chest. Now, I don't really remember it all that well, but I'm told by those of my men who survived, of which there were a few of them, that when they got to me, they believed that I was entirely gone. My soul had left the world. They believed I was dead. However, a stranger who was travelling with our party made some sort of tonic from this strange yellowy mushroom that we found, and from what my surviving men said, when it was poured into my mouth, my wounds closed and I regained consciousness. Now I'm a God-fearing man, mind you, but it's my belief that when we die, if we have followed God's will, then we will sit at his right hand in heaven. But I tell you the truth that when this happened, I don't remember any choirs of angels, any heavenly hosts or anything like that. All I remember is darkness and cold, and then I was back. And it's always worried me whether this sting that he gave me had put some sort of mark on my soul. It's why I'm always arguing with that damn fool Birdwell. I mean, after all, if there isn't anything after this, then surely we've got to make the most of what time we've got here. And that bloody Birdwell, well, he's a cold-hearted reaver. Yes, he might say he's retired now and he wears the mask of a merchant, but I know his sort. Pirates and corsairs, the lot of them. Life's cheap to that sort, and well, if what I saw or what I didn't see when I was dead is any sort of indication, well, we've got to treasure life as much as we can, because it might be all we've got.
I'll drink to that, and I'll open the port and find us some mugs or something.
He takes the port, and as he's sort of like telling you this, you can see it's obviously quite a difficult thing for him to talk about. His hands are like shaking a little bit as he drinks the port.
You can really see that William wants to say something but bites his tongue. So, yeah, he just drinks a sip of it too.
Now I can't tell you a great deal about the mushroom itself. Like I say, I don't really remember much of what happened. I know that the fellow who had joined our party, he was just we were just escorting him, safety in numbers and all that. I know the fellow who was travelling with us, who gave me this mushroom. He said he came from Shrewsbury up in Tealfordshire. I don't know if that's any help to you. Like I said, I don't really know anything about the actual mushroom itself. I was pretty out of it when I did come round, and after that, I just couldn't bring myself to take another life. So and I could see the way the wind was blowing. So I resigned my commission. I came down here to the coast hoping for a quieter life. I could retire, look after my garden, and stay out of trouble.
Well, thanks you. Should my sister survive, I'm pretty sure she will come personally and thank you too.
Well, and he looks at you, and you can see that the stern facade of the old soldier slips a little bit, and he smiles at you in almost like a kindly manner, and he says, well, and he raises his glass, I dearly hope that your friend does come through whatever shadow has fallen over her soul now, and that she recovers. But tell me, even if you could somehow find this mushroom, are you sure you want to dabble in it? It's like I say, it's an evil thing. You may be putting her immortal soul at peril by looking into this. Is that a risk you want to take? I mean, I know life is precious, but surely the soul is more precious.
Well, I assume what you experienced is just normal, and the mushrooms itself did just bring you back. It doesn't give you something cold or dark feeling or whatever. It just brought you back.
Well, I ideally hope that is the case, young man.
I know it is.
I don't think we have much to fear from a mushroom. And I look amused, and I poke William. And if it turns out that this mushroom is evil, I have some pull with the, how do you call it, the higher powers.
The old soldier holds up his hand and he says, well, you may say that now, but as the church teaches us, the devil takes many guises, most of them harmless and benign. That's how he gets his hooks into you.
If this devil you mentioned shows up, I tap my fish head cudgel. I'll give him a good seeing too.
As you sort of tap your cudgel, he looks at it interested and he says, "Oh, I've not seen one of those for a few years."
Of these, and I pull it out and I show it to him.
He looks at it and he says, "Oh yes, the carvings are a little different, but it it looks like the one that Father Yorker, God rest him, used to have, and he passes it back to you.
Used to have. He doesn't have it anymore.
Well, no, but he's dead, isn't he? So I suppose he doesn't really have any need of mortal possessions. I presume his effects have been sent back to the church. I wouldn't know. I go along to services and I say my prayers. I'm as God-fearing as the next man, but yes, I saw him about carrying something that looked very like that, a similar sort of fish motif, but the carving was a little bit different. But yes, very similar looking.
It's very interesting. When you say the church, do you mean the church in town?
Well, yes, sir. That was where Father Yorker used to hold his services. But when I say his possessions have gone back to the church, well, I assume that any of his effects, since the priests are supposed to issue mortal effects and only take what they need for their worship, I assume that his personal belongings would have been returned to one of the church chapter houses. I don't know the details. I'm not a man of the plot by any means.
Right. I was very interested in this. If you saw a similar walking stick with this Father York, I would like to talk with the man. He clearly has an eye for...
Well, you can't talk with him. He's dead, isn't he?
I would have liked to talk to him.
I see. Sorry, you'll have to forgive me. I've been one too many powder shots, so my hearing isn't quite what it used to be. Right.
Did the late father then... Did he have any family hereabouts?
No. His father died. His father died a few years before he took vows. His father used to own the old mill. Well, for all I know, I believe he passed on the deeds to the mill to his son when he died. I presume it's been donated to the church, or it's now in possession of the church. I don't know where. I just know that his father, when he was alive, he used to own the old windmill in town. I'm sure you've seen it. To be honest, we could do with someone renovating it and starting it up again. Really, having to import things like bread and stuff like that, and having to send flour away to get it milled elsewhere is a useless waste of resources in my mind. But unless someone's willing to stump up the money to repair the old mill, it's been battered by weather since it's been all but abandoned. I don't see it starting up anytime soon.
Right. Well, I'll have to look into that. But thank you for this. And William and me, I'm Odhran, by the way. And I'll hold up my hand.
Shake your hands. He's got sort of calloused hands. He's obviously a man who's used to working. And as he sort of shakes hands, you can see on his arm there's lots of little small scars running the lengths of his arms. He's obviously been in quite a few battles and scrapes in his time.
William of Riverhead.
Pleased to meet you, Odhran. William, it's a pleasure. My name's Gregory Hayes. A lot of people about here call me the captain, but it doesn't bother me. But I don't officially hold any military rank now since I resigned my commission. So I'm fine with people just calling me Hayes or Gregory, whatever. But you know how local people are.
We could maybe need in a couple of days a bit of help with killing a couple of really huge rats. Maybe, even if you don't want to kill, a couple of rats shouldn't be that bad.
Well, if there's one thing I know from service, is it's that animals don't have a soul. See, not in the same way as man who was crafted in the image of the Lord. So, if you need a bit of help, I certainly don't mind lending my arm to your cause. After all, if what you say is true about this rat problem, it's a very serious matter for the town, and obviously I live here now, so it's the least I could do, really.
That would be really helpful. Thank you.
Oh, not at all.
So I think we have to go.
Yeah. Where did you say that this the man who saved you
It was
was from again?
it was in the city of. He's from the city of Shrewsbury. It's up in Tilfordshire, up to the north of here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very good. And I put the cork in the port and I hand the bottle to him, or I leave it on the table.
He sort of slides the bottle close to him over the table, and he says, "Mind you, if you're wanting to head up to Shrewsbury, you want to get a bit of a wiggle on. It's got to be near on 300 mile, as the crow flies."
We got horses.
Right, you are. Well,
Yeah.
I know men can cover a distance when the need is great, so
Mm-hmm.
I won't waste. This old soldier won't waste any more of your time with his stories. I'll leave you to get on with your business.
Right.
Let me know how it goes, and he looks at you again in this sort of kind expression. And I do hope your sister's all right, young man.
I nod.
Right. And me and William were awfully sorry about all this, but thank you for your help.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's been far too long since I've had an opportunity to make a difference and serve something good. So thank you for giving me the opportunity.
There may be more opportunities in the future. Let's see.
Well, you know where I am. If I'm not here, I'm mostly either. I know they're not really holding services at the church anymore, but I still like to go onto the grounds and remember some of the lads I lost under my command. I'll either be there or I'll probably be down at Smelly Alley buying myself some food, etc. So if I'm not here, you know where I'll be. I'll be out and about.
I nod and would walk out.
Yeah.
Okay, so while you guys discuss what you're going to do, I'm just going to switch my light on here so I can actually see it.
Mm-hmm. So,
We should maybe take more than 2 horses.
yeah, I'm thinking, depending on where the city is, John, do we have an idea of whether or not Shrewsbury is a coastal city? Or...
I'll bring you up the map and I'll show you where it is. Just give me a moment.
Where?
Oh, right.
Where are we?
Okay.
Oh.
There's the player party token thing.
Yeah, you guys are here.
Okay, so there's water up until here.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. Obviously, the sort of most direct method you could really take would be to sort of travel up here following the line of the coast and then across, skirting the border of the Olden Whale up to Shrewsbury.
How many hexes can we move with horses?
Okay, with horses you will be able to move 6 hexes a day.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's about 3 days, maybe 4. We had in a total 4 horses or 6? I'm not sure. I think 4.
Yeah, I think it was 4.
Would it be any advantage if we take 4 horses and switch maybe halfway through?
Not really, because obviously you'd still have the other horses with you. Unless you just sort of like abandon the other horses and just left
Yep.
them.
But horses, as far as I know, have a bit of a harder time running all the time if they have a rider instead of if they don't. So they may be a bit fresher if we take more horses with us.
I'd say if you did that, you could probably shave maybe like a day off your journey.
It would be maybe worth it.
Okay, so what's the plan, guys?
I think we're going to need to get some supplies,
Yeah.
and then I'm probably gonna hit the road, and obviously tell Salazar about it as well, so that he can do whatever he feels necessary.
Okay, so you head back to Salazar, and obviously he's delighted to hear that you've managed to get the information out of Captain Hayes, and he says, "Well, if this person who cured him, although I must say I find the whole notion of someone returning from the dead utterly ridiculous. I mean, even with those terrible things that the royalists were forcing me to work on, even they weren't really alive in any meaningful sense. But I suspect the captain was just severely injured. That's why he doesn't remember anything. But if what he said is true about this person coming from Shrewsbury, then it seems obvious that you need to head to the city and see if you can track down this person. Did he tell you anything else about them?
No.
No, he was like, obviously, if he was very hurt, and this person made this cure from the mushroom, I don't think the captain maybe ever really even saw the person clearly.
Oh, that's a shame, MC. I don't know a lot about Shrewsbury. I know it's a very big city, though. I think it's got some kind of wall around it or something. There's something to do with raiders attacking it in the past. It's right on the border, you see, with Oldenwell. I don't really know any of the details. I've never been there myself. I've just heard about it from travellers.
Maybe you should go back and ask him again. Because looking through a complete city will take at least a day.
Alternatively, depending on, and I turn to Salazar, if you have perhaps any green caps, I could consult the Lord of Waters.
He says, well, I've only really got the one, and normally I do like to keep my stocks up, but I've been putting all my efforts into trying to cure Sasha. I think I've got. Hold on a second, and he heads into his back room. You hear the sound of glass jars and boxes being removed. He comes out with what looks like a green cap mushroom, but it appears to have been dried. And he says, yes, I think this is the only one I've got left. I dry them out. You see, removing all the water allows me to keep them for longer without them going off or going to spore.
Could I join you?
Odhran looks like he doesn't understand the question.
You want to use these mushrooms and ask Dagon something? Could I join you in that?
Usually it is, but most certainly, yes, of course. If Salazar is fine with us taking this mushroom, we shall bring you back some from Shrewsbury.
If you think, I don't see how it'll help, but if you think it will help, of course, I'm willing. I only use a tiny amount of them myself when I use them. A tiny amount brewed steeped in a tea. It's very relaxing. I have trouble sleeping sometimes, but I warn you to be careful. The effects can be quite unsettling if someone takes a high concentration of them.
Right. I think we probably rehydrate the green cap a bit, like a tea, and then like cut it in two, like make two separate portions.
That's absolutely fine. So you brew it into a tea, and despite the mushroom itself being sort of a verdant green colour, almost like fresh grass, when you brew the tea, it's actually an almost fluorescent sort of turquoise colour, as the sort of the toxins and the juices leak out of the mushrooms into the water that you're steeping in. Now, obviously, you would know, Odhran, having used such things before, that the longer you leave them in the water to steep, the stronger the effect is, really. Now, obviously, bearing in mind you're effectively dividing it in two anyway. So how just roughly how long are you going to leave it? You know that just for something weak, like maybe like 15 minutes would do for like a fairly weak dose, whereas your tribe, when they're like really getting into like their visioning and they're doing their like whole ceremonies, they can leave it in there for like hours.
I think what's going to happen is we make the portions, put it in a jar, in the backpack it goes, and we start our journey. And like a day after, and somewhere like in the countryside, we're gonna get fucking mushroomed.
Okay, no problem. So if one of I'll leave you guys to remember that.
Yeah,
you want to keep the mushroom a whole day in?
Effectively, what you guys have got.
Fuck?
Effectively, what you guys have got is you've got like 2 glass jars with like big corks in that Salazar will give you. Like you've basically poured like half of this tea into each of them, and then like dropped half of the mushroom into each of them, and you can see that sort of as you're watching it, as you drop the mushroom in, you can almost see this sort of like ink cloud of this like bright blue liquid sort of seeping out of it as it's getting sort of like darker and darker, like the longer it's being left in there, and as you sort of agitate it, it's getting darker and darker, and you bung them in your backpack, Odhran, for later use.
The thing is, William has no fucking clue about mushrooms, and he trusts Odhran, so do whatever you want.
And that's his first mistake.
You cured him, so you obviously know what you're doing. So
okay, so what I'm going to say, guys, is to represent the fact you've got these extra horses, and it's going to get you sort of like further on the journey and cut down your time. I'm going to basically allow you to move the player party token on the world map, which if one of you can try moving that now, I think you should all be able to move it.
I am not.
Okay, in which case let me just try and tweak it.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I accidentally got out of the game. 1 second.
Yeah, I don't think I can grab the thing.
I have to restart the campaign. 1 second.
No problems, that'll give me time to tweak this token. Okay, Odhran, try moving it now.
Yeah.
Okay, splendid. So, before you guys have to even start making sort of tests for navigation or whatever, I'm going to say you can effectively get a 6 hex head start to represent the extra distance you'll get because of these horses.
I would suggest that Odhran abuses his blessing a bit, just out of character, so, of course, because you can get this bonus on a skill check. So if you have to use a navigate roll, you could maybe ask Dagon for his blessing first.
I'm
pretty sure you can use this on skill checks.
Oh yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. You can use it on anything except damage rolls. I'm just. What are we rolling for the travel?
Well, for the first 6 hexes, you don't have to roll anything because that's your head start. So if you want to move your counter 6 hexes in whatever direction you're traveling.
Okay, so we know that the Hexenmoor is kind of a dangerous place, and there's a beast there of some sort.
Yeah,
I think we know something like that,
Indeed.
or at least we've heard about that. So we probably like avoid that collection, like skirt the moors.
Okay.
So
maybe walk like this.
Yeah,
1,
so that's
2,
1,
3, 4, 5, and 1 more. So 6.
Yeah, probably like that.
Okay, no problem. So you guys skirt round the Hexenmoor, which is where you encountered the, there's some sort of beast lurking there that you've heard of in legend. And obviously you also skirt past Dirtmoor, which is where you encountered the Stone Circle and the Lord of Words. So you push across mostly open grassland, although it's fairly sort of damp and marshy around here. So before we go any further, I'm going to ask, can one of you please roll me a d20, Johannes E, if you want to do that?
Mm-hmm. Sure. At 12.
Okay, so remarkably, and perhaps a good omen for your journey, despite the fact that the weather in the Havenlands is normally damp and drab and horrible and overcast, as you set out, it's a beautiful day. Even the sort of ever-present sort of green mist that hangs around is fairly slight, and there are beautiful green skies overhead. Like I say, perhaps a good omen for your journey. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
So,
I like rain.
Indeed. As you guys are pressing on, you're getting to the point where you'll need to start navigating. So, what I'm going to do, and I'll explain this a bit more in terms of the rules, because this is like the standard sort of travelling system out of Limitations of the Flame Princess. Effectively, what we do here is the GM rolls a d6 in secret, which is why I'm using a normal dice. If I get a 1, there's a chance of you getting lost, which is then, if that occurs, one of you guys can make a bushcraft roll to try and sort of keep yourself on course. Now,
Which we could maybe do with the blessings, so that's why I mentioned it.
I'm doing this a little bit more openly because this is the first time using these rolls. I'll tell you that I've rolled a 2, so you're pretty much dead on track for the first day. Now, that's not the 6 hexes you've moved because that was your head start. So if you wish, you can move another 6 hexes, but you will need to both consume a ration, and your horses will need a ration as well.
We forgot to buy some rations for that stuff.
Yeah, well, I think we.
If you
If
wish,
it's okay.
If you wish, you can forage for rations.
Oh yeah, there's that as well. Yeah.
It's certainly allowable. There are rules for that.
I'm checking how many rations I currently have.
Actually, there's.
I only got
there's-
5 iron rations, but I think Sasha bought a shit ton of them. I'm pretty sure she did.
Well, there's obviously the sort of Lock Adventuring Company handout, which you should all be able to see in the IC information. I think that has a list of your equipment on it and stuff that's for the party. Yes, there's 25 standard rations in the sort of group fund.
Oh yeah, there we go.
I think we
So-
just used them, so we have got 4 horses and us, so we lost 6.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I will edit it. So we have 19 left.
Okay, yeah. So,
And there's like along the way, when we get to even there's Barth, just like 3 hexes away. There's like settlements that we could stop at to buy some more stuff.
Yeah.
indeed, yeah. So if you want to buy it, well, move yourself your 6 hexes for the first day of travel.
You can do the next one, 6.
Yeah. So
1.
do we need to concern ourselves with the gorge?
No, you can go round it. It doesn't like run the entire length of it. So
Right. So 1, 2, and 3. And
one thing you do notice as you're sort of passing the gorge, there's quite a lot of villages sort of dotted around, any of which you can stop in and buy provisions, or you can just like travel through. One thing you do notice is a bit odd is there appears to be somewhat of a fascination, and you might almost say bordering on obsession with cheese in this area. Pretty much every village you sort of pass through and you're just chatting to the locals about what's going on, they all sort of point out like how bountiful their dairies are and their herds of cows, and each of them claims to make like the finest butter and the finest cheese this side of the gorge, and pretty much every village claims to have like their own special cheese that is produced nowhere else. And you probably get quite a lot of people, since you, compared to like most peasants, you guys are like positively like dripping in wealth. And I mean, you've got horses and like weapons and like cudgels and that, so you've obviously got a bit of money. You'll probably find there's a lot of peasants sort of like trying to sell you various bits of cheese as you go through these villages.
Our horses don't eat cheese.
when you say this, one of the peasants is like, "Wow, no, it's not good for horses in that, but wow, it's good for people. Wow, keep you going." He's like, "Look at this." He's like, "You see the blue veins running through this here? Well, that's how you know it's healthy, isn't it?" And he waves this like wedge of this really, really strong smelling blue veined cheese under your nose.
I guess we can just like buy some cheese rations from these guys since we're here and they're eager.
Yeah, you can certainly buy some rations from these villagers for the normal sort of rural cost that is listed in the equipment list of the book. It counts as a normal ration, but effectively it'll be like bread and hunks of cheese, like a ploughman's lunch, basically. There'll be like a few pickles, some cheese, some crusty bread, etc. Probably like a bottle of milk or something similar.
We have in our company chest 141 shillings. How much was one normal ration again?
I have it right here. Standard ration is rural. That's 5 copper.
So we will use up in 3 days all our rations. That's 18. So we have at least one more day until we are there. You said you would cut down 1 day if we use our 4 horses.
That's correct.
So we need 2 days back again. Maybe it will even be enough, but we don't know how many time we need to look there for the shrooms. So I think we need at least 2 more days.
Yeah,
it would be 12 rations.
I mean, it's really cheap though, like 5 copper each.
Yeah.
Like one silver buys you 48. Obviously, it's gonna go bad faster than the iron rations, but.
Yeah, I think we should buy for 2 days more. That would be 12. That's 6 shillings.
No, the shillings. That's the silver one.
Yeah, but 5 copper. Two of them are 1 shilling.
No. No. I have if we were using the exchange rate that we were talking about before, where 240 pennies make. No, sorry, it's 20 shillings. Yeah, I have this wrong. So let's see.
What was the exchange rate?
12.
12 copper is 1 shilling.
Yep.
Oh man. So 12, so it's 240. I need a fucking calculator for that shit.
The miracle of it is that people actually used currency like this, and they could do the math even though they couldn't fucking read.
So 240 copper, and how many copper is a shilling?
240 copper pennies is equal to 20 shillings.
Okay, I will divide that. So 20 shillings less and 12 rations more. So we had 31.
Okay, you buy some bread and cheese, etc., for your rations from these various villagers. As you're heading through the settlement of Bath, it's a fairly sort of old settlement. You know, it looks like it's been here forever. It's obviously been built on the ruins of a previous settlement. It's a fairly large town for the standards of the time. And as you're walking through the streets of Bath, you can hear people in the streets talking about the Goman baths that are located here. Apparently from what you're able to gather, when the Goman Empire moved into the Haven lands and they built things in the area, most of which now don't survive, unfortunately. They found a spring here that was reputed to have healing properties in the water, and they built this fantastic marble bathhouse around the spring. And although it's suffered as the years have passed, much of the building still remains, and the sort of waters are available. In fact, as you're getting there, you can see there's actually people from the local area travelling specifically to Bath to bathe in these waters, hoping they'll be cured of various poxes and ailments?
Odhran would be really interested in, because this is obviously Dagon's work.
Oh, obviously.
He would be really into like having a go at the baths.
Okay, you head to the baths. There is a 1 shilling charge to partake of the waters.
Yep. William, do you want to partake of Dagon's miraculous waters?
Well, I think we should stay invigorated, so let's try.
Okay, so you both pay a silver shilling. I rely on you.
Yeah, I cover William as well. Because
Okay.
this is holy work, so...
As you head into this it must have
He has to
once
convert
been,
me.
Oh, indeed. It must have once been a tremendously beautiful building, and although its glamour has faded as the years have passed, there are cracks on the marble columns. The stonework has been chipped and it's been replaced by sort of inferior replacements in certain places. The baths themselves, there's just this like large, shallow, sort of rectangular bath that is filled with these crystal clear waters, still looks beautiful. And as you're looking around, Odhran, as you walk in, you can actually see sort of the decorations on these sort of Corinthian style columns that are holding up the roofs. You can see that many of them are actually carved into the shape of people with fish-like characteristics or fish themselves, although the style is very different from the somewhat more rustic style of the crafts that your own people made. You can see that there's a very clear sort of link between the carvings that your people do and the carvings that are on here. You would know yourself that before the Gomans came here and they adopted like the one true God as their sort of national religion, they had a whole pantheon of gods that they used to follow, some of which may have had analogues for the god that you follow, and certainly they believe that their ancient god of the waters had blessed this holy place.
Maybe we should take our tea in here?
That is a splendid idea. It's been a day now, or
Yeah, we are a day and a bit, but the thing is, if we really cut down one day, we could arrive in Shrewsbury today, so...
let's see how many days we spend in a mushroom-induced coma.
When we come back, Sasha's dead because we were 1 week dead.
He's going to stagger back his time with William again. I knew we shouldn't have had that second cup of shroom tea.
I have no clue.
Okay, so I'm going to ask, can both of you please roll me a d10?
Oh, man.
Is this, John, just to ask, because is this a thing that I could affect with my Blessing of Dagon? Like, is it good if I add on points?
You would be able to affect it. However, I will tell you, because you've taken these mushrooms before, you know that they typically they can take effect very quickly, but they can also take up to around about sort of 10 minutes to like fully kick in. So effectively, this roll is for like the onset time.
Oh, right.
So it's basically, if you get a 10, you're going to be sat there for 10 minutes, like twiddling your fingers before it starts taking effect.
Yeah. Well, we're chilling
I rolled
at
a
the
6.
bathhouse, so.
Oh yeah.
I rolled a 6.
Right, so I'm gonna roll as well. Oh yeah, because my resistance, obviously.
Yeah, you're used to this shit.
Okay, so can you both now roll me a d4, please?
A 1.
A 2. A 1, 2, 3.
3, 4. And that's how many days we are asleep.
No, it's not quite that bad. Okay, so first of all, William, I need you to roll me 1d20.
I'm so dead. A 2. Again. I rolled a 1. So.
This is probably going to feel a bit sort of familiar to William, although I can't guarantee you're going to like it. Can I ask you, please, Odhran, to roll me 2 d20s?
7 and 11.
Okay, that's
Or an
absolutely
18.
fine. Okay, so you've been sat there sort of enjoying the calm, refreshing waters, Odhran, not waiting for this to kick in. Now, you've probably built up like a bit of a resistance to it, so you can see it's not taking effect. Then you look over at William, and his like pupils are just like massive.
Yeah, just saucers.
So his mouth's like hanging open a little bit, and he's just sort of like staring off into the middle distance. Now, for you, William, as you're sat there, at first nothing seems to be like happening. Then, as you look down, you notice that there's an odd sort of iridescence on the surface of the water. You sort of swirl it with your hand a bit, and the patterns that are appearing in the water and the steam rising up out of the hot spring water that you're relaxing in all starts to form into these strange sort of patterns, almost like a sort of Vincent van Gogh sort of Starry Night style painting, as they sort of like swirl it in front of your face, and everything seems to have this slight sort of haze to it as you're looking around. Odhran, you've got no doubt that shit's just kicked in for William.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. For some weird reason, William seems pretty calm. He just tries to recognize some patterns and looks at this stuff, and yeah, he's not panicking or anything. He's just relaxed.
Yeah, to be fair, you're probably a little bit surprised by that, Odhran, because for someone who's never taken these before, normally people start like freaking the fuck out when they like first take it, and you can see that obviously William's seeing something you're not, but he's holding his shit together well.
Yeah, and this is probably what I spend the remaining 4 minutes pondering before off I go.
Indeed, and as the 4 minutes pass and you're nodding at William and going, yeah, he's like keeping his shit together, you also start to notice these like swirling patterns, and to you, the sort of iridescence of the water and the steam, it almost seems to be sort of like forming into this like hazy, indistinct form that you can't quite glimpse through the mist, but given the sort of mushroom juice flowing through your system and your aquatic surroundings, you have no doubt whatsoever that you're in the presence of your Lord and Master Dagon. And and as you, I mean, do you mention this to William or?
Yeah, probably. I reach for his hand to grab it and to sort of like motion for him to like bow his head. The Lord of Water approaches, and I sort of like dip my face in the water.
And it's strange, William, because as Odhran's saying this and he's like dipping his forehead in the water, it may just be the fact that you're more suggestible because you've taken these mushrooms, you're not sure. But as he says this, you do start to see this sort of indistinct, vaguely humanoid silhouette, sort of lurking amidst the steam, sort of rising up out of the water, and then you hear a gentle splash as Odhran sort of like dips his forehead again in the water that has these sort of like sparkling iridescence glittering all over it, and it's as though all the normal people in the bathhouse, they just sort of fade away as though they're not there, and all there is this huge expanse of clear crystal water, the two of you sitting in it up to your waists on these little benches that are sort of set around the side of it. Then there is this huge billowing cloud of steam which never seems to dissipate. It just seems to writhe and move like it's something alive. And lurking in the depths of this steam is this huge shadow.
Okay, William would just bow down as far as he can, which probably means he would drown normally. So he would bow down, and while he doing that, he would mumble something about Karnok, please, and then a mumbling which sounds like water. And if someone would, if he somehow realizes that he's drowning, he would maybe raises his head after a while, instinctively. Yep. But he would do this again and again.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. This silhouette remains lurking in the mist. A couple of minutes pass. What are you guys doing?
I'm going to, after the proper respect has been paid, I look at the figure in the mist, and I whisper like Dagon, the Lord of Waters, we humble servants seek your advice. We have dire need of a particular individual in the city of Shrewsbury. We do not know his face, but we do know that he is adept with these your blessed mushrooms, your gifts to us, and he is an adept with the Golden Mycena, and we must reach this person, but we do not know how.
As you're saying this, the mist appears to part slightly, and a muscular human figure with long flowing white hair walks out of it. He has rippling muscles, but where you'd expect to see the tones of human skin, his skin is covered in tiny iridescent fish-like scales, although his face looks human. But as he walks towards you, you can see that his eyes are just purely sort of deep blue, almost black. And as he just seems to almost glide through the water, his upper torso out of the water, his lower half shrouded by the mist that's following him across the water. As he drifts closer, William, you, with your particular background, as you look at this figure, you're in little doubt that this entity is somewhat similar to a type of creature you're very familiar with.
Yeah. When I realized that this is not what I thought it is, I would just bow down as much as I can and try to make as little noise as anything, because I don't want this thing to recognize me.
Just as that thought is passing your head, the creature, which was, let's say, almost like a sort of Neptune-like looking creature with this long white beard and long flowing hair that seems to move as though it's almost like waves and foam on the surf rather than actual hair, moves across. It just turns, looks at you a little, William, and says, "These waters must remain clear."
Of course.
Do not bring any of your dark tainted water here, cousin.
Or just nod.
Now, Odhran, as far as you're concerned, like some sort of avatar of your gods just like glide in the mist, and you've seen it just like look down at William and like refer to him as cousin. What's going through your mind at this time?
I'm probably like, because I'm in my mind like William isn't even an initiate yet in the cult, so he's a non-entity in this conversation. But for some reason, I figured it out after a while that this avatar is talking to William. I thought it was talking to me, and I'm like, what? Tainted waters? I don't taint waters. Like what? What's this? And then it's like cousin, and I do a lot of like this, like what?
I won't look up. I would just bow down as much as I can.
And I lean to William. I just go, "What did you do? Like, what have you done?"
Later.
The huge figure turns to look at you now, Odhran, and then it says, "Why have you called us here to this holy place? What is it you wish of us?"
I must find the Golden Mycena, the sacred mushroom of healing.
And the bringer of dreams, the wish granter.
I just nod my head.
It is a rare thing. Few exist still in this world, and all that exist are guarded.
If you will but guide me to one, I shall gather the spores, and I shall spawn many more, such as it was in the days before these heretics burned the sacred mushrooms.
He smiles when you say that, and then says, "The gods of old do not give such knowledge freely." What is it you offer to the Lord of Waters?
Let's see.
You have your pendants, maybe. Just ask them.
Yeah, I do have my fish amulets, but I think like this isn't Odhran's first sacrifice, so he knows what's up. So we have the like small jars with the tea, and Odhran smashes one of those on like the side of the bath, and just like looks up to this avatar and goes, "What would you have of me?" And I have a shot of glass in my hand, and I poke a hole to start with in my palm and just mingle the blood in the waters.
The avatar of the Lord of Water smiles, and he dips down his torso below the surface, just leaving his neck and his head above. And he seems to almost smell the water as the blood lazily drifts into it, and he says, "It is good, but in the days of old, when the great lords of creation roamed this land, those who wished our favour would give us a sacrifice of life into the waters of the land. Give us this in remembrance of what we once were, and we will aid you, priest."
Your word is my law.
At which point he looks at you and smiles slightly, and then says, "Make sure that the person you choose to sacrifice is worthy of the Lord of Water." And as he says that, his whole form appears to just transform into water and just down into the bath.
Right. And would I like what would be my understanding of like being worthy of the Lord of Water? Like, do they want to get like a priest of the one god, or do they want to have someone who actually believes in Dagon, and that person needs to be killed?
You know that sort of back in the day when the druids of your people and of other ancient societies before the one god swept over the land, they sacrificed basically innocents to the gods, because they believed that the longer someone existed, you couldn't help but be like tainted by the world, whereas someone who was innocent, there was more power in the sacrifice effectively, because you were sort of saying all of the life that this person could have led is now given to the waters or whatever god it was at the time.
Right. So, okay. So,
when do we awake?
yeah, how long do we spend in this? Because this was a single conversation to us, but in reality,
okay.
Like there's a lifeguard just poking us like, "Hey, you need to go. We're closing."
Yeah, you need to pay 2 more shillings.
Okay, so the two of you're actually quite surprised when, as a sort of initial high from these like mushrooms starts wearing off, you find yourself, the steam seems to like blow over you and obscure your vision. Then as you wake up, you find yourself lying on sort of cold, cobbled streets. It's raining. You're both like absolutely soaked through to the skin and like very cold. For some reason, there's like 5 copper pieces lying on the ground haphazardly next to you, and you appear to just be like lying against the side of the building, like cuddled up to each other on the street of Bath.
I will move away as fast as possible.
Okay, well, as you guys are sort of thinking about what to do next, let's talk about the side effects of the hallucinogens that you've taken, which is why you got to make the rolls earlier. Okay, so
How many extra arms do I have?
Oh no, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Okay, so for the next one day, William, you believe that the first person you see upon waking is your master.
I think I saw Odhran, so...
Okay.
Okay.
Whereas Odhran, for the next day, you have two effects. You are absolutely in love with trees and the natural world. Like, you're obsessed with it. And you also have this insatiable thirst. You're just like thirsty all the time. You've got like, the world's worst case of dry mouth. You know, I need to get myself a drink. It doesn't have to be alcoholic or anything like that, but you're just like thirsty all the time. And like I say, those effects will last for the next day.
Okay, I will throw myself in the mud, bowing down to you.
Yeah.
Master.
I'm just like clearing my head a bit from the massive amount of mushrooms that we just did.
As you're sort of trying to clear your head for a bit, you see what appears to be a person clad in like the livery of the town guards of Bath that you've seen. You've seen sort of walking around since you've been in here. He walks up to you and he's like, "Look, what did I tell you a couple of days ago? You can't stay here. Go on, get out of it."
I look at William and I go, "What day is it?"
I don't know, my master. I'm terribly sorry.
"What day is it, good man?" And I point at the guard.
The guard just sort of goes, "Oh, for fuck's sake." And he tells you the day, and you're able to establish that roughly 3 days have passed.
Oh, fuck.
So, you, as far as you can work out from what the guard tells you before he like basically tells you to clear off, and then he goes about his rounds, you went to the baths, came sort of like staggering out of the baths in some like shroom-induced haze, and you've both been pretty much sort of like lying, like sort of shaking in the street, sort of like spouting nonsense. And obviously a few people have gone, "Oh, it's a shame, innit?" And they've thrown like a few coppers down and just like walked on.
Oh,
and
okay.
The guard's obviously gone, "But you can't sleep here, move on." And you've just been like, blah, 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 blah. And he's just sort of like come round again a few days later and he's like, "Oh, you're still here, go on, get out of it."
Just because I don't want to say this, not because do we need to use rations for these days?
I'm going to say you don't need to have used rations. You're not sure what you have been eating during these 3 days, but your bowel movements are probably going to be fairly explosive for the next like couple of days. So
the glory of Dagon's just
totally. He just loves me.
Let's find our horses? Question mark.
Again, I'm going to be charitable and assume you paid someone to like look after your horses when you went to the bath, because obviously you couldn't take them in with you.
Yeah,
so,
we probably stabled them, and
So if you cross me off a silver shilling from your money, and I'll say that when you go to this stable, having like cleaned yourself up a bit, your horses are still there. So
I would just buckle down behind him all the time, not looking up to him.
Yeah, and I walk around still in like the aftershock of this massive overdose that we just did, and just sort of mumble to myself like I need to drink.
Yes, it's raining, so
yeah.
Yeah,
so Odhran's walking like and I presume that there's like small farming communities or like even just singular farms out in the country, right, John?
Oh yeah. There's farms dotted all around this area. Like I say, most of them are sort of dairy farms, farming cattle, etc. You would know that there's an awful lot of sort of like herd animals. There's an animal which is known locally as a mud cow,
Mhm.
which is fairly common. It looks a bit like a sort of miniature rhino with like a couple of horns on its head, and so like a few like sort of feeding like tentacles on its snout. But it's a fairly sort of simple domesticated beast. It's quite hardy, but it sort of filter feeds from streams, etc. There's quite a lot of them being herded. You've heard locals like waxing lyrical about the quality of the milk you can get from them and what an amazing fucking cheese it makes.
Right. I think the plan is we're gonna proceed,
Yeah.
and unless at some point during the travel we come upon fellow travelers who either are quite young or have young travelers with them, Odhran is going to try and like do a spot of banditry and grab himself a sacrifice from these fellow travelers. If that doesn't happen, then I think we're gonna do some murder business in Shrewsbury instead. But he will be on the lookout for like potential sacrifices on the road.
Yeah, I would ask you like 100 times what I can do for you. So.
Yeah, and I'm just babbling about like I need to the rain.
Okay,
And,
I've given him a water skin all the time.
yeah, just like catching water into the water skin. Yeah, I'm constantly drinking and babbling about needing a sacrifice, a fitting sacrifice for Dagon.
You notice again as he's like babbling this, you're getting some fairly strange looks from the locals. There's a lot of people like crossing the road to avoid you.
We are going to ride with our horses soon, so it's hard to hear what we're saying. Just out of curiosity, because I'm pretty much at your mercy, do you ask anything about what you knew in this vision, what you saw in this vision?
I think maybe the first time that Odhran would even think about that would be when we first, like, when we proceed from Barth.
Yeah.
Like when we camped the first time, then maybe he would be like, wait a minute, like what was that? What was that stuff back there about you, like, shitting in the stream or whatever?
I'm a loyal servant of Karnok, the old one.
Okay, so at this point, because this is the first time we set up camp after we leave Barth, we moved 6 hexes.
That's correct.
I think more, because you said we can make
Well, no,
we can
I've already,
make the trip in 1 day faster. So
I've already taken that into account. That's why I allowed you to move like an extra 6 hexes at the start.
that's what. Okay,
That's what that was about. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we go through the Avon Forest, which is awesome. I'm very hype about all the trees.
Oh no! Do you really think you can go through there without hugging every tree?
One thing you do notice is as you're sort of getting to like the northern edge of the Avon Forest, you notice that there's like mushrooms everywhere. It's like a mushroom conference, and everyone's invited. Like any sort of fallen log or sort of dead tree has. Most of them are just like normal mushrooms, like growing pretty much everywhere. The air is quite sort of damp in the forests here, since you're still near to like a major waterway, so that's probably helping these mushrooms grow. As you're getting ready to settle down for the day, where would you be looking to make camp? Would you be like wanting to make camp in the forest or outside it?
Yeah, I was gonna, because we have 6 hexes, and from Barth it's 1, 2, 3 into the Avon Forest.
Yeah,
And
I think we started at this hex, I think. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think we can go. We only got to the Avon Forest.
Yeah, so you can camp on the sort of like the sort of either in the middle of it, or like say you camp on the edge nearer to the waterway.
No, I think, and like normally it would be like closer to the water, but today it's all about damn trees. So it's into the forest as far as we can go and
You could maybe forage even a bit using
yeah,
your blessing or something.
I was gonna say that Odhran would be really interested in like grabbing like a whole bag of these mushrooms.
Okay, so if you're foraging, now I will tell you that will take some time, so it will take time off your travel time. However, you will stand a greater chance of sort of getting like usable rations when you're in a forest because there's like an abundance of like, life everywhere. So the way foraging and hunting works is it basically comes down to a bushcraft roll, and because you're in a forest, you would get like a +2 bonus, so your skill counts being 2 ranks higher.
Could we also try to find something like medical mushrooms or stuff like that? So something he could use for his herbalism?
You can certainly try, yeah. If you get a particularly good roll on the bushcraft roll, I'll say that you can find something like that.
Right. Okay. So I will be asking for Dagon's blessing on this. So I will be casting bless on myself.
If I can support him in any way, I would do, of course, but rolling myself would not be a helpful, so most likely, at least.
Okay, so don't forget, because you're in a forest, just your bushcraft skill, Odhran already counts as 2 higher.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I should roll 2.
Yeah, if you just want to make a normal roll.
Yeah, let's try.
Right.
No.
Okay.
Well, it's 1 plus 2, right? So that
It's this.
Your skill would count as 2 higher because you're in a forest. So if you got a bushcraft skill of 1, 3 will be fine.
Oh yeah, you have to roll on there. Yeah.
Okay, so
William, that was.
you,
you go.
you have found 3 days worth of rations worth of mushrooms. They're just normal edible mushrooms and fungus, but like I say, it's 3 days worth of rations. And Odhran, you have only found a day's worth of normal mushroom rations. However, you do manage to find enough to make up 2 batches of mushrooms that you know work as a sort of mild curative. So you've got 2 doses of mushrooms which, when eaten, will restore 1d4 hit points.
Nice. Will you write your special mushrooms, and I will add the mushrooms to our rations?
Yeah.
So we have 35, but we need to take off 6 for this day, right? So we are 29 then. Okay.
Right, and then campfire.
Yeah, then the scene we had
Cooking some mushrooms.
Indeed.
mushroom stew.
Indeed, you're settling down, you're making yourself a hearty mushroom stew, although hopefully a little bit less hallucinogenic than the previous one. You're both starting to feel the effects of your trip start to wear off. Now, you think that probably once you've got a good night's sleep, you'll be fine again. And you're just sort of settling in for the night. You've got a nice little campfire going. You've got your little pot hangover with your mushroom stew, probably a few herbs you've gathered, bit of crumbled rations in it. And you're just settling down when you hear from the west of you what appears to be a tremendously loud splashing noise. And you hear what either seems is a scream or some sort of animal shriek. You're not quite sure.
Okay. I would draw my crossbow and would hide.
Okay, that's fine. It's not in the area you're in. Like I say, it's coming from the west, probably near where the waterway is.
Yeah, I would just hide. Bloop. I'm ninjaing out here for you.
That's fine. I'm not even going to ask you to make a roll for it because no one's actively looking for you. You've hidden.
Well, you have some light sources, right?
I have a lantern and I have a gloombug lantern. And we have the campfire which we used to make the stew, I assume.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna grab a log from the campfire.
Fine. You've effectively got yourself a torch.
Yeah, I'm gonna go check
Okay.
the source of the noise.
As you head to the waterway, you can see that although it's sort of narrowed as you're sort of moving further north, it's still a very sort of fast flowing river, sort of flowing back out to the sea. And as you're looking across, you can see a tremendous splashing in amongst the water. You can just about make out a person sort of wearing, from what you can see, sort of normal sort of like leather, like peasant clothes, etc. Sort of struggling to stay above the surface. And as you watch, you can see something that almost looks like maybe a tail or a tentacle of some kind, sort of like wrapping around this guy, and he's trying to like get free, and he's like, oh! Oh! And there's water like splashing on his face and in his mouth. He keeps going under the water and like struggling up and waving his arms around.
Okay, so how far into the water is he?
He's sort of pretty much been sort of dragged out, from what you can see, into the middle of this river. You'd have to like swim to get to him. You see him sort of go into the water. He's like,
Would he make a good sacrifice? I just point with my crossbow at him.
Yeah, how young are we talking?
he's not young. I mean, he's probably about sort of 15, so you know he's getting on a bit.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna try anyway. I'm gonna just stick the log in like the shore line, and I'm gonna try and swim to the guy.
Okay, no problem. You don't have to make a roll for swimming at all, obviously.
But just point at this guy with the crossbow and aim.
Absolutely fine. So I'm going to ask you both to roll me a d6 for your initiative.
Just rolling them once today.
4.
Okay, so William on 4, Odhran on 1, and the NPCs on 1.
As I said, aiming.
Yeah, you're aiming. Okay, so obviously player characters going before NPCs, although technically you're sort of acting at the same time. Odhran, you get to go first. So you're swimming out to this guy. It's going to take you like a round to get to sort of swim out to where he is. As you sort of strongly stroke through the water, I'm assuming you're quite good at swimming. You know, you follow the Lord of Water.
Yeah, probably.
You're not encumbered, so despite the strength of the river, you swim across. Although you're having to swim a bit against the current, so it's quite difficult, a little bit tiring. As you get near to this man, you can see there's some sort of creature under the water that's attempting to pull him under the water. It's odd. It looks almost like a sort of giant eel or something similar, like a barbed mouth on the top of it, and this weird, strange sort of like serpentine, like eel-like body with what looks like a barb to the end of it, and you can see this thing's trying to wrap and constrict around this guy and pull him underwater. You can see as the guy's struggling, there's already blood in the water, so it's obviously like bitten him or injured him at some point.
Right, and I'm just swimming over.
Indeed. So as you get to him on the NPC's turn, this guy is like dragged underwater by this thing, and you can see him struggling below the water. There's bubbles of air coming up. William, are you continuing to aim, or?
I don't know what you want to do, so I would just continue to aim until Odhran get attacked or something.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. So we move on to Odhran. You've reached where this guy's been dragged underwater now. Odhran, you can, as you look down into the water, the frothing water, you can see him just below you with this thing sort of wrapping around him and squeezing him.
I presume I'm not too familiar with the creature.
Roll me a d6.
Am I?
Probably not. I'm mainly sort of going on the fact that Odhran would be familiar with sort of like aquatic creatures, etc. You think this is something that's known as a winged gilled landfish. It's basically a giant eel. It's like an aquatic predator. It normally lurks in the middle of rivers, waits until sort of like an animal comes along and starts drinking from the shallow end. Then it tends to strike, wrap around them, pull them back in and devour them once they've drowned. Now, perhaps this poor unfortunate guy was trying to get some water or something like that, or maybe he was trying to like find a way to ford the river, and this thing's just like constricted him and grabbed him and dragged him in.
Right. It's kind of like busy being like wrapped around this guy, right?
That's correct. He doesn't appear to have paid any attention to you.
Yeah. I'm gonna dive in and try to. How thick are we talking?
Okay, we're talking sort of like its body's like.
Okay, so
it's thick,
massive.
I mean, if you think when you've seen like sort of like giant anacondas, that sort of like size.
Right.
But
Okay.
as you're sort of like looking at it, you can see that if you've ever seen like an angler fish with like the sharp teeth, the head of it is similar to that.
How about the sort of like neck area? Like, could I like wrap my arms around it?
You're quite a big fellow, so yeah, you could probably sort of like, if you grabbed onto it, you could probably just about sort of like wrap your arms around it. You can see as you're sort of looking down, this guy, the bubbles are slowing down on this like guy, and he's
like, I'm not feeling especially confident about this because it's bigger than I thought, bigger than I could see from the shore, really. So, oh, we lost William.
well, he's obviously considering his aim, so hopefully he'll get back to us.
Yeah. Well, Odhran considers his options and comes to the conclusion that this guy he was really unlucky and he's kind of done. So what he does is, with his cudgel thing, he's gonna try and like spear the dude, like just kill him, or at least like do enough damage to like stop him from struggling anymore.
Okay, so what I'm going to do for this too, you don't have to make a roll to actually do that. That's fine. You can easily do that. What I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to make your melee attack, and I'm going to make an attack for the creature. And basically, if it gets a higher result, it's noticed you doing that.
Ooh.
Okay, no, it hasn't. So, are you trying to like kill this guy or just knock him out?
Yeah, but basically just like kill him, like stab him with the sharp end.
You stab him with the sharp end of your walking stave, and you see like a last exhalation of air like bubble out of him, and then he stops struggling. This creature, which now you're looking at it, you see it's actually coiled around. You think if this thing was like stretched out, it must be at least sort of 12, 15 feet long. It basically constricts, crushing his body, and it retreats down into the darkness at the bottom of the river, carrying its prize with it and leaving you alone.
Yep, and I'm going to get away from the river real fast.
That's not a problem. You're sort of going a bit with the current now, so it doesn't take you long to swim to the bank and haul yourself out.
Yeah, and I'm gonna let William know once he stops aiming at the creature that that was a creature of Dagon, and we have helped it with its food, and that's all that we need to concern ourselves with.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. So you let William know this, and the rest of your night passes fairly uneventfully. You obviously keep a wary eye out in case this creature sort of gets a bit bolder once it's finished its meal, but it doesn't make any other appearances.
Yeah, and I think the next day just travel would be on the menu, and of course being on the lookout for potential sacrifices. Right, do you want us to navigate?
Indeed, you will need to navigate, so make a roll. Okay, so now one of you will need to make me a bushcraft roll.
Bushcraft. I'm gonna pray for Dagon, so I'm gonna get this many points. 1, stellar. This many points to add to my bushcraft roll, which is 1.
Okay, so roll me a d6 if you get a 1 or a 2.
No.
Okay, so unfortunately you have got lost. So I'm going to ask you to roll me a d6 to see what direction you've actually gone in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 4. So you've actually getting probably still a bit spaced out from the shrooms and your sudden found love of nature, not to mention the winged gill landfish. You've actually ended up sort of down here.
Just to be clear, did this conversation we started actually happen, where you asked me about this vision and stuff?
Well, we sort of said the start of it had happened, but we didn't really sort of cover it. So in a sort of a flashback style, while you guys are sort of like working out the fact you've got lost and you need to like get your bearings again, do you guys want to have that conversation? You know, we'll do that bit where they go like diddle-a-doo, diddle-a-doo, diddle-a-doo.
Yeah. Nah, I'm just saying because it may be important.
Yeah, that's fine. Yep. So go for it. We'll flash back a little bit. You guys have that conversation.
Yeah. So maybe we start at like Karnak, a great old one.
Yeah. Exactly.
Karnak what? I haven't heard of this one, and I know a fair bit about the old gods.
Karnong, also called Glaaki, the archdemon of blood, ink, and desperation.
Now you will have heard of Glaaki.
Yeah. That's more my speed with the ink and stuff. Okay, now Glaaki is familiar to me. What is Karnak?
It's how we call him.
Why?
That's his name.
No, it's Glaaki.
No.
How do you know? Are you from the Olden Vale? Is Riverhead in Olden Vale?
No, I'm a demon. I'm one of his demons.
Find that hard to believe.
Why should I lie to you, Master? My name is Atramos.
All right then. So, why are you here?
Sasha summoned me, and something went bad, so I ended up in this body.
Was this body the sacrifice Sasha was using?
I'm not sure how she did it.
So what? So what are you doing now then? Something went bad, and now you're a boy.
Yes, I'm trying to get my body back and help Sasha. She binded me. I'm her familiar.
If you want to, I can just I take out my cudgel.
No, that won't work.
I can just. Well, I assure you, it works every time I do this.
It won't work in the way I want it to work. Trust me, I would have done it already.
So you and Sasha you're trying to get your body back together.
No, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not sure what Sasha wants to do. I think she just wants to survive or something.
summon you? How? If she isn't...
There's an old rune, an old scroll she used.
Are there more of these scrolls?
I don't think so. I was accidentally trapped in one. I'm pretty sure it was for about 80 years.
So first you were a scroll and now you're a boy.
No, first I was an ink demon.
I've had drinking sessions that have ended up with this kind of story before. How do I know that you're not pulling my leg and making fun of the fact that I worship Dagon while all these other people worship the one god?
Because I know that Dagon is real. I'm not sure about this one god.
Well, we did take the sacred mushroom together at the bath.
He recognized me because I'm one of the servants of one of his enemies. Maybe. So.
One of his enemies? Huh.
Maybe a rival would be a better word.
Yes, I don't think that Dagon has use for enemies, being that he is so mighty that none could stand up to him.
Mm-hmm. Karnak is not really interested in things like that. And to be honest, it is pretty easy to tell you that I am. But what do you think I'm not partaking in these visions? And why do you think I can read what this demon wrote to you?
You make a good point.
I talk to the Lord of Words. Back at the stone circle.
Wait. So, do you know who this Lord of Words is?
Yes.
Who?
He's a demon, a much more powerful one than I am.
But just it's not a great old one. An
No,
old god.
no, he's a servant of Karnak too.
So why is this? Your friend is trying to.
He's not my friend, not even close.
Well, obviously, because it's trying to destroy everything.
Just because we serve the same master doesn't mean we are friends or we are even allied.
I'm having some difficulty understanding how it works with Glaki here, because that sounds strange. You would never have the servants of Dagon going for each other's throats. There is always blood to have elsewhere.
We have competition. It's rare, but we have it. And if one wins, he gets promoted. No, usually we work alone.
And now this, your
brother?
fellow, yeah, let's go with that. Your brother is trying to destroy you and everything else.
No, he's just trying to destroy the village.
The village in particular.
Yes.
Why? Do you know?
I'm not sure. Maybe he was caught by someone living in this village. I just know his name because he whispered this to me. I'm pretty sure the rest I just combined myself, based on the vision you had, and
it was the Lord Harper, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Lord Harper used a ritual, which at least he maintained it. So my brother kept being controlled and imprisoned. And now, since he's too old to perform it, we need to find someone else to do it. That's why I urged you to act, but somehow you didn't listen, so...
Mm.
I'm not sure how much time we have, so...
Well, do you know what is necessary for this ritual? Like what does it cost to maintain this?
I'm pretty sure it's just life force.
You would think that's probably accurate, William, because obviously you've seen that presumably the Lord Harper's been maintaining this ritual for quite some time, and as you've noted, he's quite sort of sickly and ailing.
Yeah.
So perhaps a bit of his life force has been sort of like leached out each time he's maintained this ritual. And like you say, now he's getting too old and weak to keep doing it.
Yeah. To be honest, I'm trying to make a deal with him, but that depends on which person we can get to perform this ritual. I don't want to waste my body doing it.
I think we will need to have a serious discussion with Sasha as well once we have the the cure.
Yeah.
Okay,
We
so
should.
I think, as you say, yes, we should. This is a good point to sort of like flash
Yeah.
forward again to the present.
This was this was because of his influence of the mushroom still. So
Indeed. Okay, so as I said, you guys have sort of got a bit turned around, and you've ended up going a little bit further south and carrying on towards Shrewsbury. You've realised at the end of the day that you obviously got turned around while you were in the Avon Forest, and you've ended up to the south of it. But
so we are 5 days in our trip currently, right?
that's correct.
Okay. So we have to use our rations again?
Indeed.
Okay.
Okay, so you make camp for the evening. The next morning rolls around. It's still raining. It's pretty damp and unpleasant. And you guys presumably set off to try and correct your course. So I've made the roll.
Yeah.
There's not a chance of you getting lost, so feel free to move your 6 hexes.
Right, so we'll probably go north from there, cross the whatever river that is, the Great Thames. What? I can't make out what it says on the
Whatever.
It's the Great Thames Water.
Okay, right. So 1, 2. Yeah, I think because there's the white lines are roads, right?
That's correct. They're the remnants of the Goman roads that once crisscrossed this country.
Right. So we would go 1, 2, 3, 4 to Starford, and then
One more north. And then using the north road. These roads.
yeah, probably do like Broome.
Okay, now if you wish, I'm going to say you can move an extra hex, because obviously you will travel faster on these roads.
Okay.
Right. So there.
Yeah, we should arrive tomorrow.
Okay, so as you're getting ready to settle down for the night, it's up to you whether you want to camp on the road. And these roads, they're sort of ancient remnants of stone roads. There's moss poking through them. They're in quite a bad state of repair, but they're still sort of serviceable. You can just about see in the distance the large town of Shrewsbury, which is built on a hill. There are watchtowers made of stone and like a wall running seemingly all the way round it.
I would talk to Odhran. Should we try to make the sacrifice before we get to Shrewsbury? Because if we do it inside the city, this could make a lot of trouble. And here we could do it and then just get away.
Well, I think our only option is to go and raid a farm at this point.
I mean, I could steal a baby.
If that is, I I guess it's in your nature then, or at least not against it.
It's not unusual. Usually I just try to stick to scholars, but from time to time.
Okay, well, I shall set up camp.
Do we have something to subdue the baby so it doesn't scream?
It's like a cudgel.
Do we have just to kill it? That's easy.
No. I have spirits. That's the only like.
Can you knock out a baby?
It's a dangerous business.
Yeah, it's most likely going to kill it. Soft skull and stuff.
I'll tell you what, though. A proper sacrifice is not too young or too old. The sweet spot is when they are first becoming a person, when they take on their name and they start looking at the world with their own ideas.
Yeah, because babies die so often.
And there's value in them being able to live on their own.
So it's more a bit younger than me, right? Oh, this body. So let's look for that. I'm just going to scout a bit, and
I like how our context is just we're just discussing. Yeah, how about we just kidnap like a farmer's boy?
Yeah,
like that's the thing we do.
We are both servants of old ones. So
yeah,
it's pretty much like we're playing cultists in Call of Cthulhu. So
yeah. Are we the baddies?
No.
Well, just because you're bad guys doesn't necessarily mean you're bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing good stuff. We want to restore the mill and stuff, and
and heal people, and like
and save the village from a big demon, and we're doing good stuff.
So, if I'm correct, you guys are going to sort of look around until you find like an isolated farmstead. Would that be
probably.
Accurate? Okay, not a problem. It doesn't take you long to find those farmsteads like peppered throughout the countryside. However, you notice as you're sort of like looking around the local farmsteads, you don't see like the dairy herds you've been seeing previously, or even like the normal crops you'd expect to see. Most of the farms you see here about, their fields appear to be entirely covered in like a sort of thick layer of damp hay. As you're approaching one, you can see a young woman, probably about sort of 17. She's walking around. She has a wicker basket on one arm. Occasionally you see her sort of lean down. She roots around with her hands in this damp hay and then puts something in her basket. And you see she's like walking around this field. There's a small wooden farmhouse next to the fields.
How should we kill her? What does Dagon want? Drown her? That's what I do usually.
Well, let's do it your way.
Well, I'm not sure what rituals your god wants, and because it's for him.
I require. It needs to be me that does the deed.
Okay. What's the plan then? I couldn't just knock her out and drag her to you. That would be way too obvious. Should we wait until nighttime, or?
I think it's fairly late in the day because we traveled the whole day.
Yeah, that's
right?
true. That's true.
It's sort of late afternoon. It's just starting to get a bit darker, and it's very overcast as well. So
she's in a field, right?
Indeed, she's walking around this field that appears to be covered with like a thick layer of hay. She's got a basket, and occasionally she reaches down into the hay, pulls something out with her hand, and drops it in the basket.
Is the hay really high? Because could I just drag her into the hay?
The hay is only about sort of like a foot tall, and like I say, it's quite damp because of all the rain coming down. However, as you're sort of getting to the outskirts of it and you're looking at it, you can see there's actually like mushrooms growing sort of dotted throughout the hay, and she appears to be like harvesting them and putting them in a basket.
We just lay a line of mushrooms and to the forest.
Ooh, piece of mushroom. Ooh, piece of mushroom.
Bonk. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I could sneak through her and try to knock her out, but...
Okay, well, as you guys are approaching, I'm going to make a roll to see if she's, like, surprised or if she spots you. Now, because you guys are taking all due care not to be seen, if I get a 1 to 4 on the D6 dice roll, she's, like, entirely oblivious to your presence.
Nope.
Okay, so I'm going to say she has spotted you. Obviously, you're not threatening her or menacing her at the minute. So as she sort of sees you in the distance, she just sort of, like, waves at you and carries on about her business. She knows you're there, but you're not doing anything untoward at the moment.
Could we just ask her to give us directions or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. We'll tell you what. I'll get her, and you watch out for.
Yeah, I will just check for other people. Take a look around.
Okay, you have a look
Someone
around.
spots
You can
us.
see in the distance, in the sort of farmhouse, there are obviously candles lit or something similar. You can see like a sort of dim orange light through the window of the small farmhouse. So there's probably someone in there, but you only see the woman sort of out and about on the fields. She's probably just trying to get a bit of a last-minute harvest in before it gets entirely dark. And you can see she's sort of like working her way back towards the farmhouse as she's gathering these mushrooms.
Just out of character again, maybe you should use your blessing again before you do that, just in case.
Yeah.
Just saying, because if you need to roll stealth or whatever, then...
Yeah, or like hit someone. Yeah. So I sing an old-timey, like, Olden Vale song to praise Dagon as I saunter up. Ooh, 6 points.
Nice.
Good.
Okay, you saunter across to her. Like I say, she's aware of your presence. So she sort of looks up at you and she says, oh, hello, dearie. What can I do for you? Don't mind if I carry on working while I'm talking. Well, I want to get the last of the mushrooms in before it gets too dark. And, well, I've got to make the old fella's tea. And she sort of nods in the direction of the farmhouse. Now you're a bit closer to it, you can see that what you first thought was sort of like leather and cloth clothing actually appears to be some sort of like mushroom skin, as though they've sort of like cured mushroom skin and they've like made the clothing out of it.
You could smoke her clothing.
Now that I'm up close, like, what's my estimation of the age of this person?
Like I say, she's about sort of 17, 18, so she's getting on a little bit, but you can see that she's got sort of like calloused hands. She's obviously used to working on a farm. She's got ruddy cheeks. She has her sort of long brown hair that she's tied up behind while she's working. She's wearing, like, say, these sort of like mushroom leather clothes and has like a simple apron on. You can see like it's stained with mushroom juice from the harvest.
Tell you what, I'm a traveling preacher. I might not look like one, but life is like that, I presume.
She says, "Oh well, it takes all sorts, doesn't it? I mean, we don't really get to any of the big like churches much. We do see the odd preacher around here, travelling through and whatnot. But well, all them nice big churches, all the like expensive ones, are all in the big cities, aren't they? And well, all the farmsteads dotting here about. Well, we don't get much call to go in the big city. Well, unless we need to do a bit of trading, like on market day and such like. But we make a living. We make a living. So I'm not one to judge.
Might I bother you for some mushrooms? I am running out of rations. The road has been long.
Oh, I'm sure I can spare a couple. And she sort of leans down and puts her hand into the hay, and you see her sort of rooting around. She pulls out a couple of quite big mushrooms, effectively one ration's worth, and she goes, "Oh, there you go, dear. Always try and help people out who are travelling through. Do unto others as you would have done to yourself, and all that."
Precisely. That is what the good Lord says. For my evening prayer, and he's fumbling through this because he's trying to think on his feet, which he's not very good at necessarily. But for my evening prayers, I would like to include you for this generosity and your family as well.
Oh, that'd be lovely, dearie. Why don't you come up to the house? I mean, like I say, I'm just going to put a spot of tea on for the old fellow, and well, yeah, we'd love it if you lead us in grace before we have our meal. Do you do the traditional rite, or are you one of these newfangled lot? Not that I'm judging. Oh,
the traditional.
She leans in close. She says, "Well, like I said, I'm not judging, but wow, you might want to keep that a bit quiet. I mean, after all, ever since the Queen made the imperial faith illegal, wow, you want to be careful saying things like that. You could get yourself in trouble. Not that I'm judging mine, but
what's a man to do? But
wow, yeah, that's
be honest."
Isn't it? Well, I was telling my old fella the other day, I just can't keep up with it. One year it's the imperial faith's illegal, and then sometimes it's we've got to follow the Westhaven church, and then it all switches round. I just can't keep up with it.
Yeah, these matters are complex.
It goes above my head.
It is sometimes hard for me as well. When are you having your meal?
Well, as soon as I get these mushrooms back to the house, I'll get the pot on. I make a nice stew. I don't mean to brag, but I do make a nice stew.
I'm sure of it. Do you want help, perhaps, with the harvest?
Oh, I think I've got enough now. But this basket is getting a bit heavy. If you wouldn't mind putting them strong muscles to work and helping me carry it back up to the house, I'd be much obliged to you.
Surely, the Lord of War, the one God gave me these arms so that I might use them to help my fellow man, and I lift up the thing.
She nods at you, thanks you, and then says, I'm Marie, by the way, and she leads you up to the farmhouse, and then she says, Ned, we've got guests.
And I'm sort of as I'm walking towards the house, I'm raising my thumb to William, who I presume is watching.
Mm-hmm. William just looks like he just made a big mistake. So,
as you head into the farmhouse, Odhran, you hear a man's voice from inside say, "Oh, guests, you say? Oh, well, we've got to show a bit of charity to people on the road. Time to come in." And you're led into a fairly simple farmhouse. There's a small table, a cooking pot over a fire at one end of the room. You can see it's like an old brass dented cooking pot, probably been in the family for years. As you walk in, you can see there's an old sort of farmer. He looks quite a lot older than his wife, probably in his sort of early 20s. He's sat there smoking a pipe as you walk in. There's a weird sort of, almost sort of wet, sort of earthy smell from the pipe as he's smoking it. He's like, "Oh, get that stew, old woman. Come in, preacher. Sit yourself down. Don't get standing out in the cold."
Mm-hmm. And I do. I take a seat.
He sits down.
I come back behind him.
Are you planning to go in and follow him? Is that right, William? Okay, you appear at the door, and you see the farmer looks over you. Ned looks over your shoulder, and he's like, He's like, oh, bless my soul, you didn't tell me you got others with you, preacher. One of your altar boys, is it?
Oh, this one, it's a pilgrim in the making, following me around.
Oh, wow, it's a good thing, you know, pilgrimage. Wow, it does the soul good, that's what I hear. Of course, I ain't got time for that, you know, some of us have got to work.
Yeah, I've got lots of sin to atone to.
Well, and we all young, and ain't we all? And as you sit down, he sort of pushes a leather pouch towards Odhran. You can see there's tobacco inside, but it looks strangely sort of like grey and fibrous. He's like, oh, I ain't got a spare pipe, preacher, but well, if you partake, don't mean no offence, but if you partake, help yourself. Made it myself.
Yeah, I'll take some, and
can I have a word with the preacher? I have to ask him about my prayers tonight.
As you say that, the farmer nods, and you hear his wife, who's busying herself over by the pots, says, well, don't take too long, dear. The stew will be ready in a few minutes. Don't take long for these mushrooms to cook. Just got to reduce them down a bit.
I just come closer and maybe get him a few steps away. So, what's the plan now?
I figure we'd take them all.
How many of them were there?
There appear to be only two people that you've seen so far. There is Ned and Marie, his wife.
Well, we get a free meal too. Our horses too. So why not? Just wait until they are sleeping, and then I just whisper, of course, because
obviously,
that is probably wise, though. I don't think it matters too much, but might as well wait until the proper hour. The moonlit waters are often quite portentous for Dagon.
Whatever.
Right, so I think if the stew is coming up, we take
Do we just need to mark off rations for the day then?
No, you don't need to mark off any rations for the day.
That's good.
Effectively.
That's good.
You're all served a very hearty sort of mushroom stew. There's a few strips of meat in it to sort of bulk it up a little, effectively like rehydrated jerky. It's a very thick, hearty sort of farmer's stew. Very stodgy, very filling. As you're all sort of tucking into it, you finish off your bowls. Ned sort of sits back, puts his feet up on the table, stretches, and he goes, "Oh, that were right good, Marie. Best stew you've made this week." She smiles and says, "Wow, it's all in the seasoning, Ned. It's all in the seasoning. Does anyone want any more? There's plenty to go round."
No, thanks.
Would it be possible for us to...
The woman interrupts as you're sort of like speaking, and she just like plonks down another bowl of this stew in front of you, William, and she says, "Now don't you go giving me any of that, young fella like you. You need to keep your strength up. It's good growing stuff, this is." And she like plonks another bowl of stew down in front of you.
Can we start now?
Yes, you can start with the second bowl, my son. And I sort of like ruffle his hair.
"Oh, I'm ever so sorry," says Marie suddenly. She's like, I clean forgot you were going to say graceful as father. But please go ahead before we all have seconds.
Right. Do you want to say that I just fail outright, or do you want me to roll for this?
I will say, make me a D6 roll, and if you get a 1, you manage to fumble through enough of what you've heard in your travels.
You could still use this blessing.
Yeah, you can still use the blessing. Although, how pleased Dagon's going to be.
No.
Yeah, Dagon, I'm using your blessing to like say a prayer to the one true God.
Hey, Dagon, could you still say me how to do that?
Yeah, no, it's going to be straight up.
Okay.
Like a mouse.
Okay.
What the fuck?
Perhaps miraculously.
Skill check with a 1.
you dredge back into your memory some all the like tedious like bits of sermons you've heard, and you manage to cobble together something that vaguely, if it's dark and you're squinting at it, resembles a prayer of grace. The farmer Ned, he's like, well, it's not the usual prayer I've heard, Father, but each to their own and all that. That were right nice. Thank you very much, Father. And he sort of took it into a second bowl of stew.
I'm sort of like really quietly. I'm just like, it's the untranslated version.
He's like, wow, you know more about that than me, Father. Like I say, we don't get much call for it out here. We mostly just like muddle through on what we know. But no, that were right pretty, Father, right pretty. Right, everyone took into your second course. Now we've said grace. And everyone.
Yep. Nom 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 nom. And
I take my sweet time.
At some point, I raise my spoon and I call their attention to me. And would it be inconceivably discourteous of, and I'm just like throwing all the fancy words that I've heard like along the way, discourteous of us to bother you for a place to stay this night. The dark roads are dangerous.
At which point Marie says, oh, say no more, Father. Me and Ned wouldn't even think of turning out a holy man like yourself on a dreadful, rainy, stormy night like this. And as she says that, you hear like a distant rumble of thunder. And she says, oh no, we definitely wouldn't even think of turning out a holy man like yourself. You're more than welcome to spend the night here. We can't offer you much in the way of comforts, I'm afraid, Father, but well, you're welcome to stay here.
We are used to sleeping on the street.
Yes. A floor will do quite well.
Well, yeah, you're welcome to stay then. Ned, go and get a couple of those mud dog rugs we've got out, so at least we've got something to lie on. He's like, all right, woman, hold your horses, and he goes and like roots around at the back of the room, and he brings out these like two sort of like animal skins, effectively, that he chucks down on the floor, and he's like, best I can offer you, I'm afraid, but there's a bit of straw about, you should make yourself a decent pillow. He says, I think me and the wife are going to turn in for the evening. I'm afraid that stew, filling it is, always makes me a little bit sleepy. So we'll turn in, and could I? And he looks a bit sort of embarrassed, and he's like, I don't want to impose on you, Father, but since we're like giving you a bit of shelter and that, could I ask if you'd say the morning prayer for us when we all get up in the morning? It'd mean a lot to me, Father. Oh,
most certainly.
Thank you very much. Bless you, Father. Bless you. And he's like, right, come on then, woman. Let's not waste any more of the Father's valuable time. Let's just go and get settled down. And you can see that like at the far end of the room, there's effectively like a sort of hay bale bed that presumably they're going to sleep on. And there's these couple of rugs like either side of the table for you guys. They go and get settled down, and a few minutes later you can hear the sound of soft snoring from their direction.
And looking
I draw my crossbow.
Yeah. Like, do we fade this session out on us like our silhouettes, like approaching their bed?
Okay, well let me just check. How long are you good for the rest of the evening?
I would like to end it here.
Okay, in which case what we're going to do is we're just going to basically see if you manage to like take them out without them waking up and screaming, and then we'll sort of fade the session out there. So, what's the plan, guys?
I think Odhran should try because he said he had to do it, and I would be the backup plan.
Basically, my deal would be to like bash them with my cudgel so that they're unconscious, and then drag them away into the rain for the ritual.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then I will take one of them.
Okay, so Odhran, as you're sort of like creeping up on them, like cudgel in hand, can I ask you to make me a stealth roll, please?
I would try to get the other person, so I will roll 2.
Yeah, this is where
where you should maybe invest 5 of your points, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're as good as I am.
I call upon Dagon to help me in this holy murder.
If you invest 5 points, you can roll 2 times, and only if you got 2 sixes, you fail.
Right. So let's see. A 2 is fine,
You're fine.
for me.
Yep.
Okay, so the two of you creep up to the point where you're just about ready to administer the knockout blows. So I'm not going to ask you to roll to hit because they're unconscious in front of you, they're asleep. What I'm going to ask you both to do is roll your damage, and basically, if you get enough damage where you'd have taken them out, you've managed to insta knock them unconscious.
What weapon can we use for that?
You can use whatever weapon you see fit.
Because I don't think I can knock them out with a rapier. Or can I?
Well, yeah, you could use the hilt of it.
Okay.
7
Then I'll
for me.
roll my rapier. Five
Okay,
damage.
you manage to knock them both out sort of instantly. One gets I presume you're going for the farmer, Odhran, because he's like the beefier dude. You smack him on the noggin with your cudgel. He lets out a little groan, but he's knocked unconscious, and you just bop the woman on the head with the hilt of your rapier. William, they are both unconscious. We'll just do a little bit with the sort of sacrifice, and then we will fade this session out.
Sure.
So, under cover of darkness, you two drag these unconscious farmers, Ned and Marie, out into the pouring rain. There is another ominous rumble of thunder in the distance as you drag them out of the farmhouse. The rain appears to be getting heavier. You can see a few flashes of lightning in the sky. As you drag them out, Odhran, this is your show, your sacrifice to the Lord of Waters. What are you planning to do with these poor unfortunate farmers who did nothing but offer you charity?
They made the mistake of worshipping the wrong god.
And being available.
So, they have general farm equipment and stuff outside. Yeah. So, Odhran would probably prop them up against with some yarn or rope or whatever, up against a post of some kind, a thing that you would tie your animals to. So prop them up and put up a piece of string around them so they don't just immediately fall, and tilt their heads backwards so that they're mouths open and up to the sky, and he would be holding their jaws up so that they are constantly facing up, and rainwater is going into their mouths, and he would be waiting for the point where they would start twitching a bit, because the rainwater is drowning them basically, and at that point, once they start slightly, he would take the cudgel and puncture a lung from each, and continue doing that long enough, and singing praises to Dagon long enough that the rainwater goes in their mouths, starts coming out from the hole in their lungs, and he would just reach a crescendo at that point in his weird old-timey Dagonite song, and probably there's a crack of thunder at the right moment when they actually truly expire and flop.
As you're sort of holding them up, you hear the last of their breath escaping, and thunder rolls across the sky as you see water leaking from their wounds. As it does, the now sodden mud mixed with blood and rainwater rises up in a column, forming itself into a crude approximation of the figure that you saw in the bathhouse. As it forms, it reaches its hands towards these two bodies and seems to reach into their chests, its hands phasing through them. And as it withdraws its hands, you can see that it's holding something in each hand, and there's light shining out from between its fingers. It looks towards you, Odhran, and then a sort of muddy, gloopy voice says, "Give me a vessel to contain these souls."
Would I know what this is about? Like, is it an inanimate object or?
You're not entirely sure. You do know that some sects that follow Dagon believe that when they die, their souls are transformed into aquatic creatures so that they may live forever in the splendor of Dagon's domain.
Mm-hmm.
I would pull out my idol and just try to offer it to him. It looks like it's a big statue which looks like a fish.
The muddy figure nods at you and then says, "You will need something to contain these essences, something which can hold the sacred waters."
Would I be able to do it, John?
Have you got a container that can hold water?
I'm checking. We've got water skins, and we've got flask for lamp oil, and
Yeah, I have a
lanterns.
water skin as well.
Obviously, there's lots of like tat in the farmhouse as well.
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
Yeah, we could just get something
Like
from
a
there.
couple of like milk bottles or something.
Okay, yeah. You don't really find any milk bottles, but you do find
Yeah.
the cauldron that was being used to cook the stew in.
Oh yeah.
You
Yeah.
bring it out, and as you're sort of carrying it across with a heavy rain, it's already filling with water. As you present it to this muddy figure, it opens its hands over it. The light fades as its hands open, and you hear like blum, blum. And when you look into the copper pot that you're holding, there are two small silver fish swimming in the bowl. The figure looks towards you and then says, "What you seek is in the forest of Stretton, to the north of here, near the town that your people know as Shrewsbury. When you reach the forest, place these fish in the water and they will show you the way to what you seek. But beware, it is guarded." And as it says the word guarded, it dissolves into just a pile of mud and falls back into the ground. And as it leaves you there standing holding this copper pot with these two silver fish swimming around in it, and the last sound of the mud like dissolving, we start to fade to black, and that is where we are going to the end of the session.
Hearing William giggling like a little child. Okay.
And I am going to give you both 70 XP for that session.
For killing two farmers.
For killing two farmers, and I've lumped some on top because I thought there was some excellent roleplay during the session. So.
76.
And obviously I'm happy to chat for a while afterwards, guys, but I'm going to end the recording here now. So to anyone who's watching, hope you've enjoyed the session, and hopefully we'll see you soon, where we will wrap up the search for the Golden Mycena, and perhaps if they're in time, Sasha will be cured, assuming they don't break into any more like hallucinogenic mushrooms on the way back or anything like that.
Okay.
So take care, guys.
Yo,
We'll see you all soon.
see ya.